Kevin Spacey was recently found, I don't want to say innocent, but a jury in a civil trial did not convict him of molesting Anthony Rapp, another actor, a younger actor. He's in the you do if you don't know who he is, but he's in this shitty Star Trek show.
Hmm.
He was also in Rent. Are you familiar with Rent?
Nope.
Okay, so that's how I know you don't know gay people. You don't have gay friends, do you?
No.
Wow. But you live in California. Have you been I don't mean to pry, but have you been like actively selecting against having gay friends?
Actually, is that true? Do I have zero? Well, I don't have friends,
Oh, okay. I,
so
I, okay. That might be even more concerning, but that's not even true. You have friends. That's BS.
I have very few friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you had gay friends, you would be familiar with this, or at least you would be familiar with some of the music from Rent.
Hmm.
Have you ever heard that song where they're singing about like the number of days in a year? It goes like something like
Uh,
5,600, 700 minutes or something like that. Have you ever heard that
it
song?
doesn't perhaps, but it doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. Well, you would if you knew anybody was gay, you probably would have heard this song. Not trying to stereotype gay people, but you know that you guys like this song. Okay. It's from Rent. Rent is about it's a very old school gay thing because it still talks about AIDS and nobody cares about AIDS these days. I'm I'm playing it right now so that you'll Oh, that's Anthony Rapp.
Okay, I've never heard this before,
Okay.
or at least if I have, I've forgotten.
Okay. Well, you don't have gay friends. We've established that. Anyway, he was found not guilty, I suppose you could say. My question is he going to start working again? Because he's a good actor. I would love to see him.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, but I don't have any comments on this.
I hope he works again. He's a great actor and he does awesome impressions. Like his Christopher Walken's really good.
Yeah, I definitely. I hope. Is he just not? Has he just not been able to get work
Of
recently,
course he's
or
not been able to. He was canceled. He was straight up canceled.
yeah?
He was one of the first Me Too. I don't want to say victims. He was one of the first people canceled due to Me Too.
But how he should. The thing is, he's obviously very good at what he does, and I'd be surprised if he can't find work at all. Like, what about just even working for like Daily Wire or something?
Oh,
You don't
in a
think
Daily
that's
Wire film, one of these like maybe.
yeah?
I don't know, but I think besides talking about this,
Like, do you think that's like beneath him or something? I mean, at this point, I feel like the industry is so stained that it's not necessarily
no, I
uh,
don't think it's beneath them.
yeah, a good thing that he's
I don't know that the Daily Wire would embrace him either, though.
hmm.
That's
That
the
I mean
only thing.
that would be a bigger issue.
Yeah. And they don't have to embrace him. There's plenty of, talented people. But if he was willing to work for whatever they're willing to pay, I
Hmm.
would have to think that he's obviously such a skilled actor.
Yeah.
You should take him on because he can produce massive value. Anyway, the larger point with Spacey being found, I don't guess you could be say I guess you could say being found innocent. The larger issue is a lot of these early victims of Me Too. It's coming out that maybe we jumped the gun on them,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the broader point is that for me, the broader observation is, yeah, we really shouldn't be litigating or trying people in the court of frickin' public opinion about this sort of thing. It's definitely a case by case, evidence based matter to sort through. But that's not how a lot of people want to do it. They just want to quote unquote believe all women or believe all victims or believe anybody who says anything about someone else. So I guess maybe the strategy is just to be the first person to say something. Because if
Hmm.
you're the second person to say something or the person to defend yourself against an accusation, you lose. And is that really the way this should be working? You just lose in the court of public opinion and therefore you lose. You can't work, you can't live, etc. I don't think so. And it's taken, what is it now? Me Too started in like 2016, correct? So it's only about 6 years later that we are maybe coming to terms with the idea that this is not the best way to litigate these things. This is not the best way to determine who's right and who's wrong.
With Kevin Spacey, do you know weren't there other allegations, or was this the only one?
No, it wasn't the
Or
only one. There were other ones, but this is the one. I think this is the only
this
one that
is
went to court.
or yeah. So was this the main one?
Yeah, I guess it was the main one. You, but that's where you seek justice through the legal system. You need to bring things to court. You need to actually litigate them. You don't just write write a couple Twitter posts and call it a day. That's not how we do things. That's not how we should do things, at least. And yet, that's how we did do things for these hectic few years of Me Too. And I can understand the idea that, well, people were suppressed from talking about these Me Too allegations for a long time. And so when the floodgates were open, of course, the flood comes. And there are a lot
Hmm.
of people who just wanted to get their story out there. I understand that. But we as a society, we as a legal system should have been smarter than to draw definitive conclusions based on these accusations and to act based on these accusations. We should have been smarter and more considered than to do that. And yet we were not. There are people who lost their jobs. There are people whose careers, were really hampered by just accusations. Are we finally coming to this realization that that was a dumb way to go about things? I don't know.
I
I
don't think
don't
so.
think so, actually. I don't
Yeah.
think so. But how many more situations do we need where the legal system had its say? It said that this person's not guilty. Or you can still disagree with this ruling, but just like the Chauvin trial, the legal system had its say. This is the process. But in the Chauvin trial, we waited until there's a guilty verdict in a court of law to put Chauvin in jail. This would be like putting someone in jail or robbing them of their livelihood before there's a trial.
Right. But he's still not even out of that jail.
Probably
Like,
not.
yeah, is this gonna change anything for him? I don't know.
That's just a shitty way of doing things. And I don't think we're out of the woods on that yet. We continue to do things that way. How many more cases will it take for a person to be accused and then eventually go through the correct process of going to court, having legal system determine what's what, and then it finding them not guilty? How many more times does this need to happen? Like Johnny Depp is another one.
Yep.
How many times will this have to happen before we realize that the court of public opinion is not the place to litigate this? You
It's
can
gonna,
have you can
yeah.
have any opinion you want, of course, but we shouldn't be, and I guess it's hard to parse because put yourself in the shoes of a studio. You're not trying to imprison this person, but at the same time, you have to consider what the customer, your paying customers will want, right? And if the vast majority of them don't want to see Johnny Depp or don't want to see Kevin Spacey, then you're not going to hire them. But at the same time, I think that it goes way beyond that. I could see if you didn't want to hire Johnny Depp or Kevin Spacey for a big budget film because you need to have a very wide appeal. It just wouldn't make sense financially, business wise. But these guys didn't get hired for anything. And let's just call a spade a spade. The reason why is because they were blackballed based on these accusations. That's why. These guys couldn't even do a smaller picture. Now, I don't know if these particular actors wanted to do small pictures for small money. I don't know that, but I'm sure that even if they did, they'd be blackballed from most of those too.
Hmm.
That's just wrong. They should be at least be able to work. Doesn't mean they're entitled to anybody in particular hiring them, but they do deserve to work until they're proven guilty in a court of law, right? It's just BS.
I
And this is
hope,
despite me
yeah.
thinking Kevin Spacey is guilty, by the way.
I hope. Oh, even now, you mean?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's probably some shenanigans with him and some people, but it just didn't meet the burden of proof, right?
Hmm.
But if I had to go by my gut, and I don't know him, I wasn't
But
there,
I
I
think,
wasn't.
yeah, it's just
I
like
would
from
guess
the,
that
the
he did
whole,
some stuff.
yeah, but just from the Constance Wu stuff, I feel like it's the goalposts have shifted on this, and they're retroactively applying today's standards
Oh yeah, sure, that's
to the
possible too.
past.
Yeah, it could be a bunch of people. The interaction was fairly benign, but now 15 years, 20 years later, they think, "Oh my God, I was sexually assaulted."
Yep.
That definitely is a possibility as well. But I think the larger problem for me is just in the lens of history, how are people going to view the way we handled this Me Too stuff?
I don't
I
know.
don't think we're handling it well.
I feel like it's much more likely or easier for a company like Daily Wire to get more and more successful than it is to actually change, how people behave with regards to these things.
Right. Just
So
we need
yeah,
alternative decision makers.
yeah, exactly.